crouching tiger, hidden house cat? That's kind of the impression I got from the Suzuki eVitara at the media launch and drive day a few days ago. Suzuki's joined the EV club and we're going to drive it today at Sydney Motorsport Park at Eastern Creek. It's been heavily raining for the last few days, so it's going to be very muddy. Going to drive it a bit on the track and some on the mud to see what the off-road capability is like. I'll go through all the specifications on screen. What do you think? It's really exciting. Finally, all the Japanese manufacturers are on board in offering EVs in Australia. We've got Suzuki, Toyota, Subaru, Mazda. Yes, excellent. And of course, let's not forget Nissan with the Ariya and hopefully the new Nissan Leaf coming up soon. Japan is back. Will they make EV sales in 2026? Well, they kind of need to make NVES credits to offset the sales of their petrol and hybrid cars. We'll see how they go. Look, this car would have been competitive maybe 3 or 4 years ago in terms of its interior and specifications, range, etc. But now, gosh, it's got so much competition. And even if Suzuki price it, say, low $30,000 drive away or mid $30,000s drive away, it's still going to struggle to compete with a lot of other electric cars of similar size and price. There's just so much competition. Granted, the eVitara does have all-grip, all-wheel drive capability on the higher specification version. However, please contribute. It really helps my independent, honest journalism for you. However, several of the specifications are quite poor. For example, 244 to 310 litres of boot space does not compare very well with its competitors. Similarly, 344 to 395 kilometres of WLTP range, depending on whether you get the standard front-wheel drive or the more fully loaded all-wheel drive version. Yeah, that's not a lot of kilometres of range. For example, the new Aeon UT is just a bit over $30,000, electric hatchback at 430 kilometers of range. And there are plenty of other options with vastly huger boot space in the same length of car, like the Kia EV3. And not to mention, of course, BYD. I actually have an Atto 2 on loan at the moment, and it's got 380 litres of boot space. The other difference with other cars, almost every other car available on the Australian market electric-wise, compared to the eVitara interior just looks old. It looks 3 to 4 years old, which is when the concept of this car first came out. Look, yes, it's got two-tone seats, but beyond that, the software looks ancient. The 360 camera is frankly embarrassingly low in quality. Yeah, it's just, what has it got that differentiates it from everything else? I don't know. Maybe there will be enough rusted on Suzuki buyers to actually come out and buy a few of these, but otherwise, if I was a Suzuki dealer, I wouldn't be stocking too many of the eVitara because I don't think it'll sell. And that's a shame because we need, if possible, all the legacy brands to have decent electric options to bring along their fans of their particular car brand into the electric world, away from fossil fuel cars. And if they don't offer competitive cars with decent pricing, decent quality interiors, the kind of technology specifications that people expect these days, and of course, a very competitive price, well, they just won't sell. They'll just sit on a lot at a dealer, and eventually they'll get sold in a fire sale. Reminds me of the Peugeot that was sold a while ago in Australia. They don't sell electric cars anymore because that particular model was overpriced, short range. Eventually Peugeot just got rid of all of them at really cut price and stopped selling electric altogether. Is that what will happen with Suzuki? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, Suzuki has a version 2 of the eVitara hiding in Japan, being designed right now, and maybe in early 2027 we might see that, because if the 2026 eVitara is all they've got, That's not much. It's not going to compete. I'm sorry. Let's do a full walkthrough of the Suzuki eVitara, starting from the outside. What do you think of the front? The lights? Looks pretty decent. Look, there's a bit of piano black, but otherwise, it's got a kind of rugged kind of look to it, which is what they're aiming for. The charging port is on the front right-hand side, which is handy if you're charging from a power pole charger, so that's good. But the charging rate, not that impressive. Good for AC, 11 kilowatt three-phase, but pretty poor for DC. They don't even quote the charging time. They just say, I think, 45 minutes from 10 to 80%, so it's pretty slow. Now, inside there, hiding underneath, is a BYD Blade battery, but for some reason, Suzuki hasn't managed to get much range out of it. Only mid 300 to high 300 WLTP, which means that even though the all-wheel drive version has sort of decent off-road capability, you won't actually be able to travel very far off the road. And as you can see here, no space for a space-saver spare wheel unless you maybe take out all of that foam. I don't know. Perhaps, but not ideal for a car that's marketed as an off-road vehicle. And the boot is very small, as I mentioned previously. Not much space at all. Even if you move the back seats completely slide forward, that makes it sort of bearable. Now inside, yes, it does have a nice two-tone paint finish on the more premium all-wheel drive version, as you can see here. And ISOFIX points for your car seats, of course. Down here, what do we have? Let's have a look. We've got two charging ports. And what are they? USB-A and USB-C, so fair enough, one type of charging port per side. If the front driver has their seat down to the bottom, you can say goodbye to putting your feet underneath because there's bugger all space left, like maybe this much. Not much to put your feet. So the driver will have to be a bit more high spaced. Interior, not that bad, quite plasticky. Few shiny piano black edges, but basically the kind of interior that reminds me of a car from 2023 rather than the kind of 2026 car that I see in media loan vehicles from BYD, MG, Kia, and other major EV brands at the moment in Australia. Seats, as you can see, figure hugging on the side, and there's a little bit of console space there. Bit of shiny piano black, that won't last very long before it gets scratched, and a shifter knob and drive mode. Obviously two cup holders with a nice small key that'll be easy to fit in your pocket. Good controls for air conditioning, demisting, recirculating. So if you like standard buttons, that's fine. Obviously up there is your hazard lights and manual air conditioning controls as well for people who like that and don't want to go into the infotainment system to do stuff, because that's a good point. The infotainment system software is very old and a bit laggy. Yes, there is a glove box, so that's nice as well. I forgot to mention there is a glass roof with sunshade on the top spec all grip model. So not that amazing. I guess if they price it really sharply, low 30 grand at best, it might sell a few. But if the Suzuki eVitara Hybrid is any sign, that's priced at about 40k. Then if the eVitara is more than 40k, it's basically dead in the water and not going to sell at all. So we'll have to figure it out once Suzuki releases pricing details, supposedly maybe in about 6 weeks. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and sharing my videos. It really helps me make more videos like this for you. And have a look at the suggested videos up above. I'm pretty sure you'll like those as well. Thanks, and see you later.